Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it is just Marco here once again to do a review of. Oh my god, that was a failure. How to make a killing. I don't know what happened there. I was like, how? I guess it's just, as you guys have heard me say a million times on this channel, it's the allergies. But anyways, I did a random wheel spin today and I landed on how to make a killing. I wanted to review a movie. I was in the mood and I have a little list, of course, of movies that I'm already, I guess you could say, behind on, even though I don't know if I'll review all of them. I don't know. I probably will. I don't know. But yeah, I saw little to no advertisement about this movie back when it came out, and I don't know. I don't like watching movies with Glenn Powell. Like, he's up and down. I mean, he was serviceable in Top Gun 2. He played very one-dimensional character. And then in Hitman to me has been his best film so far, because in that one he actually he kind of showed some range there, and he actually did these different caricatures, these characters. And that movie was like a fun kind of date night movie, or like a Friday night rental type of movie. It definitely not a great movie. And then there's that romantic comedy with Sydney Sweeney. Ugh. That movie was bad. And then after that you have The Running Man. And ironically, here's the thing. I did not know that How to Make a Killing was a remake. The Running Man, I guess you could say that's a remake. But the funny thing is that after that, I'm trying to connect the dots here. Edgar Wright directed The Running Man. Well, Edgar Wright also directed Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And in Scott Pilgrim versus the World, it's all about this guy having to go up against 7 evil ex-boyfriends and 1 girlfriend of his love interest. And he also has an Asian love interest. And so, in this movie, you guys are not going to believe this, it is weird, the mirroring going on here. How to Make a Killing is all about a guy fighting and killing 7 people, and he also has an Asian love interest in this movie. Spoiler alert. I mean, it's not a big spoiler at all. I mean, she should be in the marketing. I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. Like, I don't even watch trailers anymore. Like, I just see a poster, I hear what a movie's about, and I'm like, okay, I'll give that a whirl. And so I gave this movie a whirl. And yeah, and another weird thing before I get into the movie is that apparently this movie is a remake of like a 40s movie with Alec Guinness. And in that one, Alec Guinness played all 7 villainous relative characters. And so that's interesting, because you would think they would do the same thing nowadays. Like, I mean, they've done that before. Like, just, last year, they made that shitty Sinners movie. There's been movies and TV shows where people have played multiple characters. In fact, in my first movie, I am going to be playing 7 characters. I'm already halfway through shooting it, but for some reason, Glenn Powell, after he did that Hitman movie where he played a bunch of different characters, he's just playing the one character in this movie. And oddly enough, he's playing the main character. He's not playing any of the bad guys. And now here's the thing. I just want to I just want to go through like the basic plot, because if I get into anything else, it'll just spoil the whole thing. Because there's, I mean, it's very I guess you could say paint by numbers. It's very predictable. It's like a TV movie that was made for the big screen. You know, I mean, TV movies are better though. TV movies, I think that TV movies are underrated, to be quite honest. Uh, that's a really hot take. A lot of people like that they used to use TV movies as like an insult, and I never got that. Like I never got like why you could even think to use TV movies as an insult. Like Marvel movies, yeah, for sure, but like TV movies, so much better. But anyways, this movie is about Glenn Powell, and I'm saying that because the first major issue that I have with this movie was him. I did not think he fit the main character in this movie. This is a problem that continues to plague Hollywood. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it really doesn't. In this case, you know, this movie is all about this kid whose mom was a part of this rich family, all these rich jackasses and shit. You know, kind of like the Rothschilds. You know, like a horrible family like that. And you know, this mother was kicked out of the family, and she was a single mom because the dad died, and then well, she died too, and left him to be an orphan. And so then when he grows up, you know, he grows up knowing that like one day he could be rich if all of the 7 remaining family members, these rich family members, if all of them die, then he will be rich. And so he basically schemes to take out the family members and get the money. That is the total plot of the movie. There are some other things about it. I don't know how specific. I think I'll wait until spoilers. But as I was saying, this whole movie is supposed to be about this real kind of guy who, you know, he grew up struggling, and he's an everyman, and you know, he just wants to. It almost feels like he wants family. Like at the heart of things, it's not really about the money. It's about the fact that he lost both his parents. And then, you know, he even tried to go to this family, this rich family, as a kid, and they would not even, you know, let him in to talk to him or anything. That was very cartoonish, by the way. They did like an Eyes Wide Shut type of parody where, like, the butler walks out and gives him a letter through the gate. And I was like, they're fucking doing an Eyes Wide Shut parody with a kid, and it's just, I mean, that was so strange. That was so odd. But as I was saying, like, Glenn Powell is not an everyman. He's not. I mean, he has the look of a jock, a rich guy, you know, like a famous pretty boy, quote-unquote stereotypical leading man. He does not fit this role. This role needs to be an everyman. It needs to be someone who's actually relatable and someone who you want to succeed. Because I look at someone like Glenn Powell and I go, well, and they even go through this in the movie where, like, he starts off, you know, down on his luck, and then, you know, he could make it anywhere, Glenn Powell. In order for this movie to have worked well, we needed to see someone who's grimy, who is more average. You know, there's lots of grimy, average guys, even in Hollywood. Like, there was that one ugly guy who starred in Gladiator 2 Paul Mescal. I think that he would have done a better job in this movie, even though I thought he was a terrible actor. But, but like, you needed someone more relatable. Because all Glenn Powell does at the heart of things is he plays himself. He plays himself. He does this kind of is the word smarmy? This kind of smarmy, wisecracking kind of like, I mean, it's like he's pretty, but he can be funny too, and he can kind of be charming. It's this weird kind of like fake persona of like just this total like almost like I hate to sound insulting, but almost like an airbag. Like, if you popped Glenn Powell, if you just went up to him, I am not encouraging doing this, but if you went up to him and you took a little pin and you stuck it in him, just went dip, he would just pop and explode. It would be like, poof, and then all of a sudden, there would be like a bag on the floor. And it's like, uh-oh, someone popped Glenn Powell again. We gotta get someone over here to clean it up. Uh-oh. Where's Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise has got to get the Scientologist goons to come in here and help, refill Glenn Powell and, repair the balloon. Because he's a balloon. He's a balloon guy. Glenn Powell is a balloon guy. Now, I don't know how to fix that because, this movie was the perfect time for him to kind of try to step out of that persona and try to be relatable. And he was not once relatable the entire movie. The movie opens up and he is given cheesecake. And he's given chocolate cheesecake. I'm not going to talk about the context of this, by the way. But he's like, and I wanted vanilla cheesecake. And right off the bat, it's like, okay, Glenn Powell, you're already unrelatable, but you just said that you're unhappy with chocolate cheesecake. You wanted vanilla cheesecake. You are a psychopath. You are crazy. You're just you're a sociopath. I would diagnose Glenn Powell with sociopathy, whatever you would say. Vanilla cheesecake. Who the hell? I mean, you could just have regular cheesecake. Just say regular cheesecake. Why does it have to be vanilla? Who would want vanilla cheesecake? I don't get that. That's insane. I know someone who's crazy. I literally know someone who is definitely crazy in real life. And she likes vanilla ice cream. She's vanilla. I'm telling you guys, it's an actual, and don't ask me how I know this person. I talk to her sometimes. She's getting out of prison in a couple of years, I think, and she likes vanilla. And let's just look, guys, that's proof. Psychopaths, sociopaths, all the crazy people, they like vanilla. They don't like chocolate. You have to like chocolate in order to be a good person, to me. Like chocolate is just so much better. And it's so much better than this movie too, by the way. And that's why I'm talking about chocolate right now instead of this fucking movie. But anyways, I was really sad about this movie because you could see the skeleton of what could have been something good. And there were a lot of ingredients in there for a great movie. In fact, I think that the person who should have made this movie would be Woody Allen, who, he must be a bad guy in real life. I'm talking about purely on the basis of the Woody Allen movies that I watched last year. This movie, the way that it was, the story, the characters, it felt like it would naturally fit Woody Allen to make. I'm not saying that I like Woody Allen anymore. I mean, I love his movies, most of them. But I know, guys. I know you don't have to mention Mr. E. We're not going to say the rest of his name, but but you know. But this movie really, it could have been something. It could have been something great. It could have been like a Woody Allen, because it reminded me of Match Point. And it also kind of reminded me of Crimes and Misdemeanors. Like, it's like those two movies, in a way, Frankenstein together, but at the same time, it is just such a letdown. And it's sad because I guess hardly anyone saw this movie. And look, guys, you did not miss out. Because this movie, it was... Number one, it was boring. It was boring because it was very predictable, and the music was so casual, and the narration by Glenn Powell was terrible. It was just so like, ugh. It was such a drag. That's the main word that I would describe this movie as. It's one big drag. It's just one long letdown, one long string of been there, done that. You know, it almost reminded me of like American Dad, because it has all this humor like sprinkled throughout, but then underneath that, like, it's satirical is what I'm saying. Like, it's like this satirical American Dad, over the top, like, yeah, that would never happen in real life. But then underneath that, it's like they're trying to tell a serious story. And that's where it really fails, because the ingredients were there and the skeleton was there for a really good serious story, but they just did not, like, by the time they got there and when they got there, I just couldn't take it seriously. I couldn't take it that seriously and become invested in the characters in the way that they wanted me to, because number one, you know, the main guy of the movie is Glenn Powell. He's always smirking. He always has that shit-eating grin that he shows throughout his movies. So I can't take any of this seriously. And they have all this comedy, and they try to be like cartoony and over the top. So then when they want to be like, oh, well, here's the serious part, I can't connect. I'm just totally unable to connect. And so, yeah. In terms of characters, it's really hard to talk about the characters without getting into spoilers, because most of this movie is like a long montage, and I don't know what to say. Like, I did not like the main character. I mean, he also became kind of unlikable in his journey, and it reminded me again of Match Point, where you really don't like the main character, because he's just doing all this stuff that you're like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And then I hated the music. The music was so casual. It didn't fit the movie at all. It was almost like, I don't know, like a casual, like, rom-com type of soundtrack score. It did not fit. And then it had these couple of serious moments, and it's really too bad, because again, like, they did not earn these serious moments, and those serious moments too, they were like the best parts of the film, and they didn't go on for very long. It was like, okay, we got to get back to the comedy again, and then by the end, of course, the ending is another letdown. It's another, like, okay, like, thanks for the shit. You know, I asked for a burger and you're giving me shit. That's literally what this movie is, guys. Thanks for the burger. You gave me shit. I will say, too, in terms of characters, I did not look up the cast for the movie except for Mr. Powell. But the guy who played Gabe in The Office, I think his name is Zach Woods. He was in this movie. And I really enjoyed seeing him because I haven't seen anything besides The Office that he's been in. And, I was one of the few people who liked Gabe in The Office for the most part. He did have some really, really cringeworthy moments. But that was the whole point of his character, And so, and I will tell you guys too, by the way, if you wanna get it, there's a couple of things that girls like. They like American Horror Story, but they also like Gabe in The Office. I'm not kidding you guys when I say that I have connected with multiple women on the basis of being a fan of Gabe in The Office. I'm not kidding you guys. I swear to God. You cannot say that about Michael, about any of the other Office characters. But if you tell a girl that you like Gabe from The Office, that it is almost 75% guaranteed that you have got yourself a winner. That you have got yourself a catch. Okay, and so overall though, and also I wanted to give a shout out because Jessica Himwick was in this movie. She was in the Iron Fist series, and I really liked her in that show. She was good in this movie, and I wish that there was more of her. She was very underutilized. And then also, Margaret Qualley was in the movie, and again, she was heavily underutilized because so much of this movie, again, it was like a montage. It was like going through the motions, paint by numbers, okay, let's go from point A to point B to point C with very, very little sort of detours. And then they have these detours, and you know how they're going to go too. So that's also very predictable. So in terms of food, today I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try something that I know will sound very childish, but I just wanted to try it for fun. You guys ever hear of the word fun? It's like when you have a piece of cheesecake. It's like when you have a piece of chocolate cheesecake, and it's fun to do that. Okay? And I know a lot about cheesecake, by the way. If you've seen pictures of me, you definitely would know that. But I wanted to try Chef Boyardee spaghetti and meatballs. I know that sounds really silly, and I know that probably some of you you're gonna unsubscribe because I ate Chef Boyardee, but I just wanted to try it because lunch is such a strange meal for me because it's almost like it can be so boring, or it can be so bad, or it can be so good if you have something fun. It's like a mystery. Lunch is like a mystery because everyone always goes for a sandwich, or they go for a salad or something. They go for these very basic things. And I'm one of those people who I get sick of, doing the same things over and over, eating the same things over and over. So I wanted to try something different. I wanted to try Chef Boyardee spaghetti and meatballs. And here's where it relates to this movie. Spaghetti is my favorite food. So what I'm saying is that this movie had the potential to be a spaghetti movie, a real spaghetti movie. And instead, they have just gotten to Chef Boyardee level. So this spaghetti and meatballs, as soon as it came out of the can, I knew it was going to be bad. I tipped the can over the pan Nothing came out. I shook it, I tapped it, I squeezed it. It was just stuck inside there, and that should have been the red flag. I should have said, okay, there's something there's something wrong here, because it's supposed to come out. It's like the Chef Boyardee was constipated and nothing came out, and so I had to get a fork and I had to fork out the spaghetti and meatballs. And as soon as I just saw it, I knew I made a mistake, because I didn't take into consideration that the noodles would be soaked in sauce, so they would most definitely be like mush. See, what I thought it was going to be was just the sauce, and then you had to make the noodles yourself. I didn't know that there would be noodles in the can. Even though that's what the other Chef Boyardee things have. So then you get to the meatballs. These meatballs look so gross. They looked like testicles, okay? Like, they looked like little testicles. They're not perfectly round, and that's the weird thing. Like, what kind of a psychopath that Chef Boyardee is rolling out the meatballs to cook, and they're not rolling them into perfect circles? Like, why are you rolling them into these kind of strange shapes, these kind of testicle shapes? I mean, I swear to God, I'm so thankful that I'm not gay, because if I was, I would be like, oh my God, like, this is like, it's like cannibalism. It is like I'm eating testicles and spaghetti. It's like that fucking Office episode where Dwight goes up to Michael. It's his last episode, and he's like, here, I got you some Rocky Mountain oysters. And he's like, oh yeah, they're really good. I love oysters. And he's like, they're not oysters, they're bull testicles. And I cut them off fresh this morning. And Michael spits it out. It's like, that's what I felt like this was. And that's not the worst part, okay? I picked up one of these balls, and I'm not kidding you guys. 2 of these meatballs were together. They were it looked like a ball sack. It looked like a man. My ball sack is, never mind. It looked like a ball sack. I had to split these up in half. And I was like, oh my God, what kind of shape is that? Somebody at the Chef Boyardee plant, factory, whatever, they did this on purpose. They're doing something, because on the front, you see these perfect circles. There are these perfect circles, and you get into the into the package, and it's like you're eating these little testes. So yeah. And finally, there was one of the meatballs I had to throw out. It looked very weird, because there was a hole in the ball. There was some sort of a little hole. It looked like a hole that like a worm got into. Like it like, like when a worm gets in an apple. It was very bizarre. So I tried this spaghetti and meatballs. I ate the whole thing. And you guys are never going to believe this, okay? Chef Boyardee spaghetti and meatballs is literally Chef Boyardee beefaroni. There is like little to no taste difference, and the meat is just in balls, and then the noodles, they're not the same kind of noodles. Ugh. So when I was eating it, I was like, oh wow, I literally just did an April Fool style prank, and I gave myself beefaroni. And I thought it was going to be different. I thought it was going to be fun. It was going to be like, wow, this is something I missed out on. And instead it was just some of the same shit that I've had before. I did not like it at all. It gave me some terrible stomach acid, which I do have an issue with that sometimes. And that's what this movie is like for me. It's like you go into it expecting like something different and something interesting and refreshing, and instead you get this very, very average experience, this kind of experience that, you could just, it's like a red box rental type thing. It's not the worst movie in the world, like honestly, if it was on TV in like a hotel in some other country or something, I would watch it. If I don't know, like the different circumstances, but like it just wasn't nearly as good as it could have been, and there were a lot of letdowns about it that just made me feel like it's this movie's like a sham. So anyways, I think what I'm going to do, by the way, is I'm just going to make this a freebie, a free review. I'm not going to split it up and put the other half on Patreon, because every couple of reviews I'll release a free one. So this is going to be for you guys who are hesitant about signing up for Patreon. Basically, you just get the other half of the review if you sign up for... This would have been Tier 2, but if you sign up for Tier 1, you get access to the old movie release reviews. And then if you sign up for Tier 2, you get everything. You get all sorts of stuff. So head on over to Patreon if you'd like to support this channel more. And yeah, let's get into spoilers. So, spoiler 1. They kind of spoil the movie right off the bat by showing that Glen Powell is in prison and he's on death row. He's about to be executed, and he's talking to a priest and telling his life story. And I'm not a fan of movies with narration very much. Like, I really, really try to avoid those. Like, sometimes it can be good, but, like, I just don't like it. Like, I just, ugh. I like a little bit of narration, I guess, like in Spider-Man, that movie starts and ends with narration, but, like, for it to go on, like, the whole movie, in this movie, it's really bad in particular because there's no back and forth. They have this priest character, and usually in these types of movies, there's like a strong back and forth, and you can feel both of the characters' perspectives through the story, and that's kind of the whole point is, I don't know what the point was here, except to have an excuse for narration, but, like, there was no back and forth. There was no other side to the priest. The priest just sat there. He asked a couple of questions here and there, but it was just like, ugh. And again, Glen Powell, he was not relatable or likable at all. Most of the movie, in fact, I was actually considering turning this movie off about like 30 minutes in, and literally what saved the movie was Gabe from The Office. If he wasn't in the movie, I would have turned it off. So you guys can thank him for making me stay through this movie. So yeah, so he kills the first guy pretty easily, pretty fast. The second guy... Who was the second guy again? Oh yeah, it was Gabe from The Office. He killed him. And again, this movie is like a montage. It's like a montage of things. And to me, one of the biggest problems I have with the movie is probably due to my experience with Hitchcock movies, because in Hitchcock movies, they purposefully try to show it is not easy to do murder. It is not easy to commit murder and to clean it up and to lie to people and to live with the guilt and all that stuff. Well, in this movie, instead of doing that, they kind of just breeze through it and breeze through the murders of like, oh yeah, I did this and then he died. Oh yeah, I did this and then that guy died. Oh yeah, I did this and I did that. And oh yeah, it was pretty easy, and they didn't really, it was just a cakewalk, whatever. That was what this movie was like. So that's why I was describing it as like an American Dad episode, because I could totally imagine an episode where like Stan finds out that he's like an heir to like a rich family, and then he has to kill all the relatives. That's very, very American Dad to me. And then it just gets more and more over the top and cartoony. And that's another thing that really didn't work about this movie, was like, there was no reason for it to be so cartoony. If anything, it could have been more serious, and it could have been like a noir, like a thriller, and it could have been, I mean, I don't know, but at the same time, like, I don't know, like, I guess they wanted like a comedic effect to this movie for some reason. I don't know why, because the comedy, there really isn't very much comedy in this movie, and you really can't feel the comedy very much. Like, and what I mean by that is, like, for most of the movie, I wasn't laughing. I was thinking, like, the stuff that's happening, the characters aren't likable, and I'm really, these situations aren't very funny, and there's not very much black humor, and so I was wondering, like, why this is supposed to be a comedy, but then there's not really very much actual comedy in the movie. It's like they want you to find it funny, but there's nothing funny to be found. So what that reminds me of is the Anaconda movie with Jack Black and Paul Rudd. This movie is like that, in that it's a comedy with no jokes. And so another thing about this movie is that there are two love interests, which, hey, the more the merrier. And Jessica Henwick is one of them. She's kind of the more relatable love interest, and the more likable character, and she is a pretty damn good character. And then the other one is Margaret Qualley. She is like a dark femme fatale, and Glen Powell knew her ever since he was a kid, and then she grew up and she got married, and she I guess she's kind of rich a little bit, and they kind of have this weird, like, off and on again relationship, and I really didn't understand that element. I thought that, like, one of the biggest issues with this movie was that she needed to be in the movie a lot more, because that whole, like, element, that whole side story, it never really felt like an actual story. It just kind of felt like she would show up randomly because she became important at the end. And then at the end, all of a sudden, after this whole movie, they try to make the love interests and the romance like the main part of the story, and that's the biggest letdown, because at that point, you're thinking, like, okay, like, what was going to be like the end result of him getting rich and killing all these family members? It has to be like him realizing that, like, it was all, like, pointless, and that really the thing that he should have gone after was just living a normal life with his fiance, which supposed to be his wife, but instead he realizes that, like, halfway through the movie. So 50% of the movie is him continuing to kill these family members for no reason other than his mom told him not to give up or quit, and then, I guess he still wants to be rich, even though he gets a great job, And he has this fiance who's perfect and amazing, but still he wants to, do these murders. And that's why I was saying that this felt like it should have been a Woody Allen movie, is because that's a very Woody Allen type of thing. And I also kind of found the movie to be a little depressing. Like as I was saying, like it's this comedy that doesn't have any comedy, but there's this also kind of hint of like depression throughout the movie, because you look back as the movie goes on and you look at all these different family members and you go like, yeah, like none of these people deserve to die. None of these people deserve to get murdered like they got murdered, or anything. Like they're not like these villains. And so that was another kind of failure of the movie, was that like there's clearly like some villainous element in here, because they turned this kid away when he was a kid, and they turned away the mom and forced her to be a single mom, didn't have any help or anything. I mean, that is the worst. I mean, I've seen a lot of boomers and a lot of boomer celebrities. I don't think that Jeff Goldblum, I don't know what he is, but he is bragging that he is not going to leave any money to his children. And then Simon Cowell is bragging he's not going to leave any money to his children. You see these kinds of evil rich people who just don't give a shit about their families, and they don't leave them anything. And in this case, like, I just think like what they did to his mother at the beginning of the movie, it wasn't anything to laugh about. And then turning him away too. They turned away this kid. He's an orphan. I mean, usually in these types of movies, you at least get a scene where, like, the kid meets with, like, the rich people, and the rich people have a talk with him or something, and they say, like, you go earn your way or something like that. Like, but they don't give him anything. And so it was really confusing, because by the end of the movie, I guess I didn't really understand. It felt like they basically implied that like the only bad guy in the whole family was the grandfather, played by Ed Harris. And this is the second year now where we've had an Ed Harris movie, a bad Ed Harris movie, where he had, I think he had a shotgun in Riff Raff. Riff Raff was a terrible movie. This movie is a lot better than Riff Raff, but Ed Harris, he plays the leader of the family, and again, he kind of looks like a Rothschild. Yeah, isn't that the one that looks like a dickhead? That the one that is like really, really, really ugly? The one with the bald head? Rothschild ugly. Let's see how many different family members pop up. Yeah, here he is. Jacob Rothschild. Ed Harris, I think that he's supposed to look like a... Ooh, he's dead? Ooh. When did he die? Oh, 2024. Well, thank God. At least one of them's out of this planet. At least one of those fucking evil pieces of shit is off of this planet. But anyways, I guess Ed Harris is supposed to be like Jacob Rothschild. And that's the thing that it just really confused me, because there's no villainy. Like, there's no villainy that you can see throughout the movie from anyone else except for Glenn Powell until the end part, where Ed Harris's character, at first he wants Glenn Powell to kill him. And then he locks Glenn Powell's character in the mansion with him, and he starts hunting him with a shotgun and trying to kill him. And, that has been revealed to have happened in real life. Human hunting parties, And they're showing that a lot in movies and TV shows now because, they want to show it to you and reveal what they're doing without really telling you outright. And I've even heard of serial killers doing that kind of thing. And really, really sick stuff. But that part was my favorite part of the entire movie. Because it felt like the only part where I was like, okay, this is actually kind of creepy as hell. And to me, I think you could have done something like Ready or Not, where maybe you make half of the movie take place in this mansion and, he has to kill all these different relatives off or something. Like, I really saw something there in this one sequence of like, okay, like this could have been great because that was kind of creepy. But I just didn't understand, like, I didn't understand, like, the characters of, like, these, rich people. Like, I didn't understand. It seemed like, again, like he was the only bad guy, and then all the others are just, like, typical rich people, and that was another thing, too, was they all had, like, drastically different kind of lives, doing whatever they wanted and leading these different types of businesses. And but none of them were really that bad. I mean, one of them was like a cult leader, I think, but other than that, like, none of them were really that bad. So that really took me out of the movie, because the whole point of the movie was that, you're supposed to be rooting for this guy killing off all these evil, rich relatives. And there would be so many times throughout the movie where he would meet these relatives and they were really nice to him. And, Gabe's character, he helped him meet his future fiance and brought him over for dinner and gave him like an autographed photo that he pretended like he wanted. And like, they really weren't that bad of people. And so I just don't understand like the disconnect there between the beginning of the movie and then the rest of the movie. And then the ending part is definitely probably the worst part of the entire movie. So at the end, he gets framed for killing Margaret Qualley's husband, who he confronted when she was trying to blackmail him. I don't want to go through all that crap because it's totally convoluted. But she frames him for her husband's murder, who, she did not really like her husband anyway. And so that is why he is on death row. He is on death row for the one murder that he did not commit. And so then what happens is that Margaret comes to visit him in prison. And she is going to reveal this new evidence out of nowhere. And this is what I don't like about this movie, is just pretending like everything is like this cartoony game, and like this woman could just hide this evidence from the police for all these years. She could just hide this evidence of that would have acquitted this guy, because why? Like, there's no like explanation for that. Like, she just reveals like, oh yeah, I actually found this letter and it was like a fake suicide note or something. I guess she created the letter, but regardless, like, the police would wonder, like, why did you wait until now? And then what happens, by the way, is that he signs Margaret over the entire fortune that he spent the movie earning. And then he ends up with her instead of the girl from Iron Fist. So the movie has a very unhappy ending. They describe it as a tragedy. And I would just describe it as a dumbass movie because it had a dumbass ending. Because I didn't feel like I don't know, like I don't even know what to make of this. Because at the end of the movie, again, like all of a sudden Margaret Qualley is like this main character. After the whole movie she would just show up on and off, and all of a sudden you're supposed to it just did not work for me at all. And it didn't work because Glenn Powell was playing the main character and just a lot of other things too. A very, very dissatisfying movie. I would like to watch the original movie with Alec Guinness because I would be curious to see how that one was different to this. And I really hope that it's better because, I saw something here that could have been good, I guess, but like, it just was not, it did not live up to its potential. And so anyways, I don't think I have anything else to say about the movie. So please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought of the movie if you just so happen to see it. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. And last but not least, if you'd like to support this channel even further, please check out our Patreon page where you can discover tons of bonus videos and spoiler-filled movie reviews just like this one, rankings, and my short film. So that's it. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.